The silver ships cut through the morning clouds like drops of mercury falling from heaven. Commander Jamin watched from the Seoul military base as the alien vessels descended, their surfaces gleaming with an otherworldly light that made his eyes water. He had been tracking these objects on radar for the past hour, but seeing them with his own eyes was something entirely different. "Sir, they're landing simultaneously in 12 major cities," reported Lieutenant Sora, her voice tight. "With barely controlled fear? New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, they're everywhere at once." Jamin gripped his radio tighter. 3 years of mysterious signals from deep space had led to this moment, but nothing could have prepared Earth for what was actually happening. The ships were beautiful in a way that seemed almost alive, their crystalline hulls shifting and flowing like liquid glass. The largest vessel settled onto the lawn in front of the Blue House, South Korea's presidential residence. Its landing was so gentle that not a single blade of grass was disturbed. The ship's surface rippled, and an opening appeared where none had existed moments before. What emerged was unlike anything in human imagination. The being stood nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms that moved with fluid grace. Her body seemed to be made of living crystal, translucent and constantly shifting between different shades of blue and purple. Where a human would have eyes, she had clusters of bright points that pulsed with soft light. "Do not be afraid," she said, though her mouth never moved. Her voice came from everywhere and nowhere, resonating inside the minds of everyone present. "I am Ambassador Velthara of the Zephyrian Collective. We have traveled far to reach you." President Kim stood frozen behind a wall of security guards, his face pale with shock. The soldiers raised their weapons, but Velthara made no threatening moves. Instead, she spread all 4 arms wide, palms facing outward in what seemed like a gesture of peace. "We have been watching your world for many of your years," she continued, her mental voice carrying warmth and compassion. "We have seen your struggles, your wars, your suffering. We have come to offer help." Dr. Yoonji, the government's chief scientist, stepped forward despite the protests of the security team. She had spent her entire career studying the possibility of alien life, and now it stood before her. "Why now?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Why reveal yourselves to us now?" Velthara's crystalline form shifted, and what might have been a smile played across her features. "Because your species stands at a crossroads. You have the potential for greatness, but you also face destruction. Without guidance, most civilizations, at your level, destroy themselves within a few generations." The ambassador gestured, and the air around her began to shimmer. Suddenly, holographic images filled the space between them, showing beautiful cities of crystal and light, beings of different species working together in harmony, and technologies that seemed like magic to human eyes. "This is what awaits you," Velthara explained. "The Galactic Confederation is home to thousands of species, all working together for the common good. We have eliminated hunger, disease, and war. We've turned entire solar systems into gardens of peace and prosperity." Young reporter Minsu, who had been covering the presidential meeting, found his voice. "What do you want from us in return?" "Nothing but your trust," Velthara replied.
We ask only that you allow us to share our knowledge, our technology, our wisdom. We have gifts that will end your suffering and bring your people into a new age."
Of wonder. The holographic display changed, showing advanced medical equipment healing the sick. Machines that could create food from basic elements and energy sources that seemed to burn without fuel. The assembled humans stared in amazement at technologies that could solve every problem their world faced. "We have done this before," Velthara continued. "Many species have joined the Confederation and found peace. The Altarians were once warriors like you, but now they create the most beautiful art in the galaxy. The Centauri were dying from pollution, but we helped them restore their world to a paradise." Colonel Donghan, who had been silent until now, stepped forward. His military training made him suspicious of anything that seemed too good to be true, and if we refuse your help— Velthara's lights dimmed slightly, and for a moment, something like sadness crossed her features. "Then we will respect your choice and leave. But we have seen what happens to species that refuse our guidance. They either destroy themselves, through war and environmental collapse, or they remain trapped in primitive cycles of suffering for thousands of years. The ambassador moved closer, her forearms flowing like water as she gestured. We do not force our help upon anyone. The choice is always yours to make, but consider this. What do you have to lose by accepting friendship from those who wish only to see you thrive? Around the world, similar conversations were taking place as other Zephyrian ambassadors delivered the same message to different governments. The aliens seemed patient, kind, and genuinely concerned about humanity's welfare. They asked for nothing, except the chance to help, offering solutions to problems that had plagued mankind for centuries. As the crowds gathered and the cameras rolled, most humans felt a surge of hope they had never experienced before. Finally, someone was offering them a way out of their struggles, a path to a better future. The aliens had come bearing peace, and their gifts seemed too wonderful to refuse. 6 months after first contact, the world had transformed beyond recognition. The Zephyrian embassies rose like jeweled towers in every major city, their crystalline walls pulsing with soft light that seemed to calm anyone who looked at them. Dr. Jinho walked through the Seoul Embassy's medical wing, still amazed by what he witnessed daily. The cancer is completely gone, announced Dr. Hijin, examining the latest patient scans. 3 weeks ago, this man was dying. Now his cells show no trace of the disease. Jinho nodded, though part of him still couldn't believe it was real. The Zephyrian healing machines were unlike anything human science had produced. They worked at the cellular level, repairing damage that doctors had thought impossible to fix. Paralyzed patients walked again. Blind children opened their eyes to see their parents' faces for the first time. Dr. Jinho called Ambassador Velthara as she approached, her forearms moving in graceful patterns. How are today's treatments progressing? Perfectly as always, he replied, still struggling to hide his wonder. Your medical technology is saving thousands of lives every day. We had a patient this morning with a brain tumor that would have killed him within weeks. Now he's planning his daughter's wedding. Velthara's crystalline form shifted to a warm golden color, which Jinho had learned meant she was pleased. This brings us great joy, to see suffering end, to watch families reunited with healthy loved ones. This is why we travel the stars. Through the embassy's transparent walls, Jinho could see the city beyond. The changes were everywhere. Massive Zephyrian energy generators had replaced every power plant in the country. The air was cleaner than it had been in decades. A strange blue glow from the alien machines provided unlimited electricity without any pollution. I still don't understand how your energy systems work, Jinho admitted. Our scientists have studied them for months, but the principles seem to go beyond our physics. Understanding will come with time, Velthara assured him. Learns quickly. We are impressed by your curiosity and determination. Outside the embassy, Farmer Park Sujin was experiencing his own miracle. The Zephyrian agricultural pods had tripled his crop yields while using half the water and no pesticides. The alien-grown vegetables were larger, more nutritious, and grew faster than anything he had ever seen. My grandfather farmed this land for 60 years, he told the Zephyrian agricultural advisor, a gentle being named Kethmera. Never imagined crops like these were possible. Kethmera's tentacle-like appendages brushed over the soil, analyzing its composition through some method Sujin couldn't understand. Your Earth has rich potential. With proper guidance, every continent could become a garden. No human would ever know hunger again. The changes weren't just technological. In the cities, crime rates had dropped dramatically. The Zephyrians had introduced something they called harmony fields, areas where their technology seemed to reduce aggressive behavior. People reported feeling calmer, more peaceful, more willing to cooperate with their neighbors. Student Lee Mi-young attended one of the daily education sessions at the Busan Embassy. The Zephyrians were teaching human children about the galaxy, showing them wonders beyond Earth's solar system. Today's lesson featured the Andorian cloud cities, where beings of pure energy danced through storms that lasted for centuries. Are there really cities in the clouds? Asked 8-year-old Jongsu, his eyes wide with excitement. Many wonders await you in the galaxy, replied the Zephyrian teacher, Tevel Na. When your species is ready to join the Confederation, you will see them all. Myung raised her hand. When will we be ready? When you have learned to live in peace with each other and with your world, Tavelna answered. Your species shows great promise. Already your conflicts are decreasing. Weapons are becoming unnecessary. Soon you will understand that violence is not the answer to any problem. The truth of this was becoming obvious everywhere. Military spending had dropped by 80% worldwide, as governments realized their weapons were useless against Zephyrian technology. The aliens had demonstrated defensive shields that could stop nuclear missiles like raindrops. Their medical technology could heal any injury. Their energy sources made resource wars pointless. At the United Nations, Secretary General Yuki watched as world leaders signed the Global Peace Accords. Wars that had raged for decades were ending as the Zephyrians offered better solutions than fighting. Why battle over oil when clean energy was freely available? Why fight over territory when agricultural technology could feed everyone? The Zephyrians have given us everything we asked for, President Martinez said during the signing ceremony. They have ended our suffering and offered us the stars. Dr. Ginho stood in his laboratory that evening, looking at the latest research data. Had shared genetic therapies that could prevent inherited diseases. They had shown humans how to repair damaged ecosystems. They had provided technologies that seemed like magic. We owe them everything, he said to his assistant nurse Heywan. They came to us as strangers and treated us like family, Heywan smiled as she filed the day's medical reports. My grandmother says they're like angels. She thinks they were sent to save us from ourselves. Around the world, similar conversations were taking place. Humanity was experiencing a golden age unlike anything in their history. Disease was ending. Hunger was disappearing. Wars were becoming obsolete. Zephyrians had kept every promise. They made asking nothing in return but friendship and trust. The aliens watched with satisfaction as their plan proceeded exactly as expected. Humanity was becoming dependent on their gifts, their society restructuring around Zephyrian guidance. Soon, the final phase could begin. Colonel Hyenwu stared at the computer screen in his underground bunker, his hands trembling as he read the translated message for the 5th time. The words hadn't changed, but he kept hoping he had made a mistake. The Zephyrian communication was clear and terrifying. Intelligence reports subject species pacification at 89% completion. Resistance elements minimal. Commend beginning Phase 2 resource surveys. Estimated full compliance, 18 Earth months. His team of cryptographers and linguists had worked for 3 months to crack the alien language. Captain Su Young, his best decoder, sat beside him with tears in her eyes. Sir, there are hundreds of these messages. They're not here to help us.
Ow.
They're here to use us. Hyenwu had been suspicious from the beginning, while the world celebrated the Zephyrians. Gifts. He had noticed small things that didn't add up. The aliens never allowed humans to fully understand their technology. They always had reasons why certain areas of their embassies were off-limits. They asked many questions about Earth's resources, but gave vague answers about their own world. Me the other files, he said quietly. Su Young pulled up document after document. The truth was worse than Hyenwu had imagined. The Zephyrians had done this before, many times. They would find a planet with useful resources and a developing civilization. They would appear as peaceful helpers, offering advanced technology and solutions to all problems. The grateful species would welcome them with open arms. Look at this one. Su Young pointed to a file about a species called the Kalani. They were farmers on a water-rich world. The Zephyrians gave them amazing agricultural technology, ended their wars, cured their diseases. Within 2 generations, the Kalani had forgotten how to do anything without Zephyrian help. What happened to them? Hyenwu asked, though he already knew the answer would be terrible. They became workers. The Zephyrians moved them to small settlements and put them to work mining rare metals from their ocean floors. The Kalani were happy to do it because they thought they were helping their beloved saviors. The files showed dozens of worlds, hundreds of species, all following the same pattern. The Zephyrians would study a civilization, then appear as benevolent guides. They would solve immediate problems while slowly making the species dependent on their technology. Once the population was pacified and grateful, the real work would begin. We have to tell someone, So Young said. The president, the UN, somebody in authority? Haiyan Wu shook his head. Would believe us. The Zephyrians have given us everything we wanted. They've ended wars, cured diseases, fed the hungry. People. Worshipped them like gods. He was right. In the months since the aliens' arrival, human society had changed completely. The Zephyrian healing centers were constantly full of grateful patients. Their energy systems powered every city. Their agricultural technology fed every nation. Anyone who spoke against the aliens was seen as crazy or dangerous. We need proof that people can understand, Haiyan Wu decided. Get me Dr. Jinho. He works closely with them. Maybe he's noticed something. Dr. Jinho arrived at the bunker 2 hours later, confused and worried. Colonel, why all the secrecy? Why couldn't we meet at the embassy? Because the embassy is probably monitored, Haiyan Wu replied. Doctor, I need you to look at something, but I want you to promise me you'll keep an open mind. Jinho looked at the translated documents, his face growing pale as he read. This can't be real. The Zephyrians are our friends. They've saved millions of lives. Keep reading, Suyang urged. Look at the part about resource extraction. Jinho's hand shook as he read about humanity's planned future. According to the files, Earth's rare metals would be stripped from the planet. The human population would be relocated to controlled areas where they could be used as workers. Those who resisted would be eliminated. Those who cooperated would live comfortable but limited lives, never knowing they were slaves. They're going to take our children, Jinho whispered, reading about the Zephyrian practice of separating young from their parents for proper education. They're going to turn us into pets. Now you understand why we can't go through normal channels? Haiyan Wu said. The Zephyrians have made themselves too valuable. Most humans would rather live in denial than face the truth. Jinho stood up suddenly, pacing the small room. But I work with them every day. Velthara seems genuinely kind. She's helped me save so many people. She's an actress, Suyang said brutally. They all are. They've been doing this for thousands of years. They know exactly how to make us trust them. The doctor stopped pacing and stared at the evidence again. What about the other species in their confederation? Are they all slaves too? Some are, Haiyan Wu replied. Others are partners who help find new worlds to harvest. The Zephyrians have built an empire on the bones of grateful civilizations. Jinho sank back into his chair, the weight of the truth crushing him. Everyone thinks they're saviors. Children love them. The governments depend on them. How do we fight something like this? Very carefully, Haiyan Wu said. We need to build a resistance network without the Zephyrians knowing. We need to find their weaknesses. And we need to do it fast, because according to these files, we only have 18 months before they start the final phase. Outside the bunker, the world continued to celebrate their alien benefactors, unaware that their salvation was actually their doom. The abandoned subway tunnel beneath Seoul buzzed with activity as dozens of people worked by the light of stolen Zephyrian energy cells. Dr. Jinho hunched over a makeshift laboratory table, carefully studying alien technology components. While trying to look normal during his daily visits to the embassy above, the hardest part is acting like everything is fine, he whispered to Resistance member Park Tae-won, a former military engineer. When Velthara talks about humanity's bright future, I have to smile and nod while knowing she's planning our slavery. A1 looked up from the alien device he was dismantling. How much longer can you keep this up without them getting suspicious? It's not much longer, Jinho admitted. Yesterday, she asked why I seemed tired. I told her I was working too hard to help humanity, and she seemed pleased by that answer. 3 months had passed since Colonel Haiyan Wu first revealed the truth. The resistance had grown from a handful of suspicious military officers to a global network of scientists, hackers, and ordinary citizens who refused to accept their fate. They communicated through old radio systems and hand-delivered messages, avoiding any technology the Zephyrians might monitor. In Tokyo, computer specialist Myung worked with a team of hackers to break into Zephyrian communication systems. She had been studying their signals for weeks, looking for any weakness they could exploit. I found something interesting, she announced to her team during their midnight meeting in an abandoned office building. The Zephyrians aren't completely biological. They're part energy, part living crystal. That's how they can control their technology so easily. Her partner, systems analyst Kenji, looked at the data streaming across their screens. Are you saying they're like living computers? Sort of, Mi-young replied. Their bodies generate specific frequencies that match their technology. It's like they're constantly broadcasting passwords that tell their machines what to do. This discovery changed everything. Mi-young immediately sent word to resistance cells around the world through their secret network. If the Zephyrians were energy-based, then energy could be used against them. In Berlin, physicist Dr. Anna worked with local resistance members to test Mi-young's theory. They had managed to steal a small Zephyrian medical device and were studying its energy patterns. Look at this, Anna said, showing the readings to her colleague Hans. The device responds to specific harmonic frequencies. If we could generate the wrong frequency, it might disrupt their systems, Hans finished. But what would that do to the aliens themselves? The answer came from Dr. Jinho's careful observations in Seoul. He had been watching the Zephyrians, closely noting how they reacted to different situations. I saw something strange today, he reported to Han-woo. There was a power surge in the embassy, and for a moment, Velthara's body flickered like a broken light bulb. She seemed disoriented for several seconds. You think their bodies are connected to their technology? Han-woo asked. I think they are their technology in a way, Jinho replied. If we could disrupt their energy patterns, we might be able to hurt them. The resistance worked faster now, knowing they had found a potential weapon. Mi-young coordinated with teams across the globe, sharing frequency data and helping them build devices that could generate the specific harmonics needed to disrupt Zephyrian systems. In London, engineer Sarah who was now called Hi Jin worked with her team to modify stolen Zephyrian communication equipment. If we can hijack their broadcast network, she explained, we can send a signal to every piece of their technology on Earth simultaneously. The plan was dangerous and desperate. They would have only one chance to strike before the Zephyrians realized what was happening. If they failed, humanity would face the aliens' full wrath with no hope of resistance. We need to test it first, insisted Dr. Jinho. We can't risk everything on an untested theory. The test came sooner than expected. When Mumbai, a resistance cell accidentally activated their harmonic device while a Zephyrian advisor was nearby. The alien collapsed, its crystalline body cracking and sparking with energy discharge. The creature survived, but it was clearly damaged. It works, the Mumbai team reported. But we only have a few hours before they realize what happened and start investigating. Han-woo made the difficult decision. All teams prepare for immediate activation. We can't wait any longer. Around the world, resistance fighters prepared. Their makeshift weapons. They had built devices from stolen Zephyrian technology, modified human equipment, and pure desperation. The plan was to activate everything at once, sending a planet-wide harmonic pulse that would disrupt every Zephyrian. On Earth? Are we really going to do this? Asked young resistance member Zhang Min, barely 18 years old. What if we're wrong about them? Then we'll have murdered the beings who saved our world, Han-woo replied honestly. But if we're right, we'll have saved our species from slavery. Dr. Jinho looked at the weapon they had created from alien technology. I keep thinking about all the people they've healed, all the problems they've solved. Part of me still hopes we're wrong, or not. Wrong, Mi-young said firmly. I've seen their true communications. They're not our saviors. They're our farmers, and we're the crop they're planning to harvest. The countdown began. In 12 hours, humanity would either free itself or destroy its greatest benefactors. There was no middle ground, no second chances. The fate of Earth hung in the balance. The sun rose over Seoul as Dr. Jinho pressed the activation button with shaking hands. Around the world, resistance fighters were doing the same thing at precisely the same moment. The modified Zephyrian transmitters hummed to life, broadcasting Mi-young's deadly frequency across the planet. In the embassy above his hidden bunker, Ambassador Velthara was meeting with government officials when the attack began. Her crystalline body suddenly began to vibrate violently, cracks appearing along her translucent arms. The harmonic frequency was tearing apart her energy matrix from the inside. What is happening? she gasped, her mental voice now broken and distorted. The other Zephyrians in the room were experiencing the same agony, their bodies flickering like dying light bulbs. Across the globe, every Zephyrian on Earth was suffering the same fate. In hospitals, the alien healers collapsed while treating patients. In research centers, Zephyrian scientists fell to the floor as their bodies began to break apart. The frequency was designed to disrupt their bioelectrical systems. It was working perfectly. But Velthera had not become an ambassador through weakness. Even as pain shot through her failing form, she managed to activate her emergency communicator. Code red, she transmitted to the Zephyrian fleet orbiting Earth. The subjects have turned hostile. Begin elimination protocol. High above Earth's atmosphere, the massive Zephyrian mothership received the signal. Admiral Kethmorin, whose body was protected by the ship's shielding, felt a cold anger as he watched his people dying on the planet below. They were given paradise, he snarled. Now they will receive oblivion. The bombardment began within minutes. Beams of pure energy lanced down from the alien fleet, turning buildings into vapor and creating craters where cities once stood. The Zephyrians were no longer pretending to be peaceful. Their weapons could disintegrate matter at the molecular level, and they used them without mercy, but humanity had learned from their brief partnership with the aliens. Colonel Hyenwu had suspected the Zephyrians would retaliate, so the Resistance had prepared for this moment, using stolen alien technology. They had built a planetary defense grid that activated automatically when the bombardment began. "Shields are holding," reported Captain Su Young from the Resistance Command Center.
Oh.
"But I don't know how long they'll last against this firepower." The battle raged across Earth's skies as alien warships fired down at the planet, while humanity's hastily built defenses fired back. Cities burned, but the shield network prevented total destruction. The Resistance had managed to reverse engineer Zephyrian shielding technology and turn it into a protective barrier around populated areas. Then something unexpected happened. The harmonic frequency that was killing the Zephyrians on Earth began affecting their technology as well. Myung had discovered that the aliens' bioelectrical systems were integrated with their machines, meaning both were vulnerable to the same attack. "The frequency is spreading through their network," Myung reported from her command post in Tokyo. "The ships are losing power." One by one, Zephyrian vessels began falling from the sky, their crews dying from the harmonic weapon, could no longer control their ships. The massive warships that had seemed invincible just hours before now tumbled through Earth's atmosphere like burning meteors. Admiral Kethmorin watched in horror as his fleet disintegrated around him. "Impossible," he whispered. "No primitive species has ever turned our own technology against us." His flagship was the last to fall, its massive bulk creating a fireball that could be seen from 3 continents away. The Admiral's final thoughts were of disbelief. In 1,000 campaigns across the galaxy, the Zephyrians had never faced effective resistance. They had always been the hunters, never the prey. On Earth, the survivors emerged from their shelters to find a world transformed. The alien embassies were dark and silent, their crystalline walls cracked and lifeless. The Zephyrian healing centers stood empty, their miraculous medical equipment now useless, without operators. Dr. Ginho walked through the ruins of Geneva, where the United Nations building had been partially destroyed in the bombardment. Pieces of alien spacecraft littered the streets, their metal still glowing with residual energy. The sky was filled with smoke and falling debris from the destroyed fleet near the wreckage of a Zephyrian communication array. He found Velthara's final message. The ambassador's voice was barely recognizable, distorted by system failures and the agony of her dying form. "We offered them peace." Her broken mental voice whispered from the damaged device. "We brought them gifts, ended their suffering, showed them the path to paradise. They brought us the end. How could we have been so wrong about them?" Jinho knelt beside the ruined transmitter, thinking of all the people the aliens had healed, all the problems they had solved. For a moment, he felt grief for the beings who had seemed so kind, so helpful. Then he remembered the intercepted messages, the plans for humanity's enslavement, the fate of all the other species the Zephyrians had helped. "Because you never understood," he whispered to the empty sky. We don't just fight to survive. We fight to remain free. Around the world, humans were picking up the pieces of their civilization. The Zephyrian technology was failing without its creators, but humanity had learned much from their brief partnership. They would rebuild, stronger and wiser than before. The galaxy would soon discover that Earth was no longer a target for conquest. It had become something far more dangerous, a world that fought back.